Hello, Dana Crawford here. Welcome to Bell to Bell. On this show, I want to talk to you about the action that we saw over the past week, from December 7th through to SmackDown. Of course, December 7th was Raw, so let's just get started here. So the top 5 matches, what were they? This is in no particular order. They were all good, great for their own reasons, but these were the 5 best matches that I saw of this past week. We saw Sasha Banks versus Carmella. A lot of story in there. Great for another number of reasons that I'll get into here in a moment. We also saw, that was on SmackDown. On Raw, not Raw, but on NXT, we saw the Grizzled Young Veterans versus Imperium versus Everrise. There were a number of good matches that were on NXT, but this match in particular, the Triple Threat Tag match, was great for its own reasons. Definitely kept me captivated throughout the whole thing, and I was very much leaving satisfied with the product after I watched this match. We also saw another great tag team match, go figure, on AEW. FTR versus the Varsity Blondes. I actually, while I liked the Young Bucks match at the start of the show against the Hybrid 2, this match really stood out for me and I really enjoyed it. It was one of the better matches that I've seen FTR in, since even all the way going back to WWE. This was definitely one of their better matches and I enjoyed it. We also saw great storytelling and a great match with Orton versus Bray Wyatt. This was on Raw. Actually, 2 of the best matches of the week were on Raw. So, Orton versus Wyatt, a crap ton of story in here. You saw the Firefly Funhouse version of Bray Wyatt in this match, which of course allows him to lose if need be, but this match, it just, I don't know, it kind of came to an inconclusive end because the lights went out and then the Fiend arrived, and that's kind of how the show ended, as the Fiend is choking out he's choking out Orton with the mandible claw. So this was definitely enjoyable. I love the story. Please forgive my hair and stuff. Haven't yet had a chance to comb it and whatnot. So anyways, great match. Also another great match, Cedric Alexander versus Kofi Kingston. Spectacular performance between these two. This was actually following the match between Kofi and Shelton Benjamin. So Kofi, props to him for having 2 great matches back to back. But this was really, really standing out. This match was. And to help Cedric Alexander stand out even more. Someone who, just months ago they were talking about being buried. Actually, about a year ago they were saying that Vince was burying him. Now, not so much being buried. So, the Hurt Business has definitely helped him out. Best backstage of the week. There were a number of really good backstage segments throughout this week across pretty much, well, I can't say AEW never has good backstage segments in my view. I very seldomly like their their backstage stuff. However, this week we saw a really good backstage segment. Actually, 2 parts to it. Before and after the match, it was Otis and Chad Gable. Chad is taking on this new alpha male type persona. He's trying to train people to be better wrestlers and just to be alpha. Kind of a callback to the American Alpha storyline or tag team. But he, Chad Gable, has taken Otis under his wing and he's manipulating Otis. They lost their match and then Chad's well, we lost because you shouldn't have tagged out. You had it all under your control. So you should have tagged out. So basically, he's saying it's Otis's fault that they lost their tag match. Really good story building up here, and I almost made it the fire story of the week. In part because it's kind of like the sleeper story. This is something that's it's building up, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where it's going. Also, best show of the week. So we're going to get right into it. There were 4 shows this week. I know I'm not looking at 8 shows, not looking at 5 because of a pay-per-view. I'm just looking at 4 because I already assessed War Games on the last episode. Raw, I rated a 9.74. AEW, 9.66. NXT, 9.85. And SmackDown, a 9.69. I didn't hate any of these shows. They were all enjoyable. Pretty much from start to finish. I actually enjoyed this week's AEW more than I did last week. Let me look what I gave AEW last week here. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it better than I did last week. So, with that said, NXT really stood out for me. Solid matches, really good storylines, but I'm going to get into here shortly why NXT was the best show. Actually, there's a number of points here where NXT just really stood out for me. Obviously, I mentioned one of the best matches was that triple threat tag. Well, next on the best promo segment, almost became the best heel moment, but the best promo segment was the opening segment for NXT this week. You saw Finn Balor coming out, doing what he promised he was going to do, because he promised on War Games he'd show up at this week's NXT, but Finn Balor showed up, and then he sort of laid out like an open challenge, if you will. Like you said, like who's going to be next to take on Finn Balor. Well, when it came to this, you saw Pete Dunne come out. So you're like, oh man, we're going to get a Pete Dunne versus Finn Balor storyline? You know, that's really intriguing. But then Damian Priest came out. So, you know, you're wondering, okay, where are they going? Is this going to be like a three-way feud? But all out of nowhere, Scarlett arrives. And I wasn't expecting Scarlett and Karrion Kross to like emerge from the darkness like soon, because, you know, that vicious injury that he had back in August. But Scarlett appeared, sort of sending like a warning to everyone in that ring. And, you know, it just has me like really animated, because Scarlett like stopped Finn Balor from leaving completely, sort of sending a message like Karrion's coming back for the championship he never lost. So, and Finn should know what that's like, because he had to drop the Universal title. He never officially lost the Universal title. So, so you have that. That was a great promo segment all around, but especially because of Scarlett's arrival. And then that gets me into the fire story of the week. The fire story of the week, for sure, was the return of Karrion Kross. Alongside, you know, this was actually immediately targeting Damian Priest. So interrupted Damian Priest's little involvement in another feud there. But Karrion Kross attacking Damian Priest and then like just taking off in that awesome looking car, you know, with his gorgeous wife and that sort of vampirist like approach that Scarlett has. I love that all around. So that itself helped make NXT the best show of the week for me. It really stood out in large part because I'm a huge fan of Karrion Kross. So we're going to take a brief step back from talking about this whole thing. I'll skip ahead. Kross attacking Priest was, to me, the best heel moment of the week. And I toggled back and forth between giving Roman Reigns the best heel moment of the week again, but this, because of how awesome it was, the return, it had to stand out for me. And, you know, Kross is he's a great heel. I love what he's doing. I love what they're doing with him. I'm looking forward to him actually being back in the ring. So, the new star of the week, though, wasn't Karrion Kross. I was tempted to do that again, but it was the reborn version of Carmella. I'm loving what they're doing with Carmella. The whole shattering of the wine bottle over Sasha Banks' back on SmackDown. It helped make that match with Sasha and Carmella stand out as one of... There were a number of matches I gave a 10 to, but that helped make that match a 10 for me, and that's why it was in the top 5. But Carmella being reborn, I'm enjoying it. I'm so much more invested in her character now than I was before she was going on her hiatus, but I'm enjoying it. Favorite commentary moment of the week. Unfortunately, there were none that were memorable to me. So there was a lot of stuff that was on my mind. My brother had tested positive for COVID this week. I'm in quarantine as a result. I've been back and forth between having symptoms and not having symptoms. I just don't know. And it's best that I stay in quarantine, so I'm not going to be retested at the moment because of the quarantine. But either way, that being on my mind, maybe it's because I was distracted. I don't know. But no commentary moment really stood out for me. And if I had included War Games in this, the thing that would have stood out for me was that whole Wade Barrett comment towards Beth Phoenix that I mentioned on the last show. About, that's my line, Beth. I mean, that would have been my favorite commentary moment, but I didn't include that in this week. So there's that. This week in wrestling history. So 11 years ago today, on the December 14th, 2009 edition of Raw, Raw held a special edition of that show to host the Slammy Awards for 2009. And at that Slammy Awards, one major significant thing that took place at that Slammy Awards was that the match between HBK and Undertaker at WrestleMania 25 earlier that year, that became Match of the Year. And I think in a lot of ways, I didn't watch that episode of Raw. I'm almost tempted to go back and watch it because that's when I wasn't watching wrestling. But I'm pretty sure that I mean, obviously that was that deserved to be Match of the Year. But I'm pretty sure that becoming Match of the Year helped pave the way for their streak versus career match at that following edition of WrestleMania 26, between HBK and Undertaker. So I'm pretty sure that paved the way for it in a major way, and I'm almost tempted to go back and watch that episode of Raw just to see if I'm right on that. But anyways, that was a significant moment of This Week in Wrestling. So with that, I hope that you check out my podcast, Extra. Of course, is an extension of Wrestling Today, which unfortunately the original Wrestling Today doesn't exist anymore. Jeff has taken a hiatus from podcasts and all these other things and social media and whatnot altogether. I'm just kind of left to do this by myself, except for my podcast with my brother Michael, Appropriate Indecency, which you can find at my website along with everything else that I do, danielcrawford.org. Make sure you check it out. So, thank you for watching. Thank you always for listening to everything else I do, and I hope to catch you next time.